Hi all, it's been a while since I've done a tip video, but I'm in the middle of making some Viking attire for our reenactment this summer, and I have come across the need to turn some thin straps. And I have this huge long piece of fabric that I have serged to make about half an inch wide, and turning these in the past has been a huge pain for me, so I've done workarounds and stuff like that, but a friend of mine suggested using a crochet hook to turn them the other day, and a regular crochet hook wasn't working out very well for me for something this long, but I do have a nice long Tunisian crochet hook here. This one happens to be a US 10 or 6mm crochet hook, and it's quite long. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to take this this really long tube that I've made here. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I serged all the edges. You can just stitch them with a regular machine if you want to. And I also closed one side of the seam because I wanted to have something that I could push through. But what I found as I was doing this is that it is much easier if you just take a tiny little bit of the top of this seam and put a little hole there so that you can stick the crochet hook through it. So I'm just going to pull that off of there. So now I have just a little bit of the end that is no longer sewn together. And I'm going to take my hook here. I'm going to start at the open end, the opposite end of the tube, and I'm just going to insert that in the tube there, and I'm going to start pushing this as tightly as possible onto this hook. So this particular Tunisian crochet hook, I've got about 60 inches of length here, and I have to push that very tightly, as you can see, onto the hook to get all of it onto the hook. So if you're doing this with a shorter length, this would be much easier to do. So I'm almost to the end up here of this linen fabric, and now I have this hole in the corner here, so everything pretty much shoved onto that hook, this hole in the corner up here, and I'm going to push until my hook appears just out of the side, and I'm going to pull then until the fabric is hooked tightly on there. And then, with a little bit of fiddling, and make sure this is hooked on here, with a little bit of fiddling, I am going to try to get that pulled back inside the tube, and if you have to give me a second here because this is not the easiest thing in the world to do. So I'm going to get that turned back to the inside, hopefully, and like I said, a little fiddling, a little pulling, a little harder to do on camera than not on camera, but once I finally get that into the tube there, so now we're turned, you can see the end we're turned there, and I am just pulling and pulling, and that fabric stays hooked on that crochet hook, and you can see, whoops, lost my hook. That's the first time that one's happened, but I did so right at the very end here, so I'm just gonna pick my way in here, see if I can get a hold of the end of that fabric. While I am doing this, I might try and stick my hook back in there and see if I can give me a little help. Or I don't have them right here, but I can go grab a pair of tweezers too to grab that. And as soon as that comes out the other side, I should be able to very easily continue to pull that fabric through there so you don't have to sort of fiddle with everything that's going on. And the last three that I did, I was actually able to use the hook to pull it all the way through. I didn't have to do this fiddling. So just make sure that when you unstitch the top end where I initially hooked the fabric on, that you get that nice and tight so that it will not fall off the end. And then what happens is, after you've done that, I'm going to show you a different one that I've turned already. You just easily pull through and you have this. This is a little harder to see because it's blue, but you can see that it's fully turned, and I can press those seams and make this nice closed piece here. So I hope that that is helpful to you guys. And again, I just used a nice long Tunisian crochet hook to turn that fabric in about when it works and when it doesn't fall off the hook. It took me about 20 seconds or so to turn that full thing over, and most of that is fiddling with the top to get it to turn inside. Alright guys, have a great day. Thanks. Bye.